Hey everyone. Once you've made your appointment for the TA, or even if you're waiting to make an appointment, you can still start working on your documentation required to bring for the application. Today, we're going to be working on the EX-17. The EX-17 form, for those of you who don't know, is the official application form for the TA, the Tarjeta de Identidad Extranjero. You can see that on the top of the form as well, because it will say EX-17 Solicitud Application de Tarjeta de Identidad de Extranjero TA. So make sure that you have this government form specifically if you are applying for a TA as a non-EU citizen, okay? And there are a lot of different fields that you can probably see. We're going to go through each of those together so that we all fill it out at the same time. You can find the EX-17 form either by Googling it, or it's also available to you directly from the Spanish government. I believe they put a link to the PDF in the same website that we looked at to book your TA appointment. In any case, this form is very easy to find. Let's get started. So this is what the form looks like. As a heads up, most forms in Spain that you'll be filling out for the government, either fill them in on a typed form or use blue ink. In addition, I've heard that it's recommended to write all of your forms in capital letters. It's a very arbitrary rule, but it helps make sure that your handwriting is legible and also distinct from the type on the page. So let's head to the first section, the datos del extranjero a, or the information about the foreigner. In other words, you. So pasaporte, obviously that's passport. Most people's passport numbers are 9 digits long, I believe. So we'll do. Great. The next field that you see is the NIE. And the NIE you can find on your student visa. If you don't yet have a NIE or a Número de Identidad Extranjero in your student visa, sometimes you have to come over to Spain to actually have it issued. Don't worry, this happens all the time. Don't have a NIE, just don't put it, okay? So it usually starts with a letter, has 7 numbers, and ends with another letter. Moving on. Apellido means last name or surname. Think about it as your family name. There are 2 fields in here because in Spain, most people have 2 last names. If you have 2 last names, congratulations, fill those out. But most people will just be filling out the first. Excellent. Next is your nombre. That is your given name. If you have a middle name, you can put it. I recommend checking what you have in your official documentation. I'm just going to put middle name anyways. Next is your sex. There is hombre and mujer. There's only 2 options at the moment. For now, if you go by a third gender, just place whatever is on your official documentation so that it matches up. I am going to put hombre for first name, last name. Next is the fecha de nacimiento or date of birth. We're going to fill this out as day, month, year. Pretty simple. The lugar is going to be the place in which you were born. It can be your city and your state. If your city and state are too long to write, just write your state name. And your país, obviously, is the country that you were born in. If you're born in the United States, you will be writing Estados Unidos or EEUU. If you were born outside of the United States, of course, you can change this section to reflect whatever it is. Nacionalidad, again, if you're from the United States, you're going to write estadounidense. Next is your estado civil, or your civil status. Here we have single, married, widowed, divorced, and separated. It does not take engaged into account. It does not take dating into account. Just put single. The next 2 fields are nombre del padre and nombre de la madre. So essentially, whatever your parents' names are, just put them in there. If you have 2 parents of the same sex, just choose parent 1 and parent 2. And if you don't know your parents, you're estranged, or you have a single parent, obviously just fill in 1 field or anything that you can. In general, if you don't know information or you prefer to omit it, just leave that section blank. Obviously, try to fill in as much as possible, but it's understandable if you don't know some of the information on this page. So moving on, domicilio en España. This is where you're living in Spain. If you don't yet have an apartment or a living situation by the time you get to your TA appointment, which it's highly recommended that you do, you can use your school's address. For this section, we're actually going to look at a few different addresses and show you how to fill it out. For our first example, imagine that you're living in an apartment in Madrid. I just took this listing from Idealista to give you an example. Let's just say this apartment's name is, I don't know, 3 Derecha. Perfect. Okay. So we're living at Habitación en Calle de Corazón de María 41. You're in the neighborhood of Prosperidad, and you're in the city of Madrid. This is the official address that you get from Google with the postcode and the localidad. We're going to break it up from the domicilio that we see on the TA. Your domicilio is essentially your street. So in this case, it's going to be calle, because C is short for calle, so calle del Corazón de María. That is your domicilio. Your número is your number. Our number is 41. Piso, of course, is your physical apartment. So you can write 3 Derecha. Localidad, in this case, is where you live in Madrid. Remember that Madrid is not just the city itself, it's also the surrounding region. So although our provincia will always be Madrid, our localidad might not always. Does that make sense? So the localidad in this case, Madrid. Prosperidad is the neighborhood, it's the barrio, so you don't have to write that. The provincia is the province. Some people prefer to think of it as the region. Also going to be Madrid. So Madrid, you can see, goes both to localidad and provincia in this case. And the CP is the código postal, and that is this little 5-digit number here. On the form, it's going to look like Calle del Corazón de María for domicilio, número 4141, piso 3 derecha. The localidad is going to be Madrid. The provincia is also going to be Madrid. Cool. Cool. If, for example, you decided to use your school's address, here's how to go about it for domicilio. What would we do? We'd write our street name. So in this case, it's Calle de Santa, because STA is an abbreviation for Santa Brígida. With accent marks, it's really up to you whether or not you want to include them. But I recommend it. It's Spanish, so do it. Our número is 10. If your school or your apartment building doesn't have a number associated with it, it sometimes has the letters S/N. That essentially stands for sin número, and you can write that in the number blank if you need to. Most places will have a number though. Our piso, we don't have one, so we leave it blank. Our localidad is Madrid, provincia is Madrid, and código postal is 28004. So there you go. I also want to show you an example of an address of a school. You might have an apartment that is outside of Madrid Centro, outside of the city of Madrid, but still within the province of Madrid. You'll see that in this address, we have an extra little piece of information. It says Alcalá de Henares, Madrid, Spain. So in this case, Alcalá de Henares is our localidad, and Madrid, once again, is our provincia. Just for the sake of completing this, I'll show you how to do it. So in this case, our direction, our domicilio, is calle, because this is a C, right? Always write out the street name, whether it's a calle, paseo, avenida, etc. The number is going to be 7. There's no piso. Localidad, as we said, it's Alcalá de Henares. Our provincia is Madrid, and our código postal 28802. So let's go back to that and figure it out. For the sake of ease, I just made our first name, last name live in this apartment at Calle del Corazón de María in Prosperidad in the center of Madrid. So that is all of this information filled out all together. So for your telephone number, I recommend that you have a Spanish telephone number just for anything, filling out any Spanish paperwork. You need it, you're moving to Spain, right? But if you don't, if you still have the US number, just remember to put the country code. Otherwise, write your telephone number, which should be 9 digits. Perfect. Your email, likewise, is also going to be your regular email. You don't need to worry about this highlighted section here. This is only if you have a legal representative filling out this form for you. Similarly, section 2 is only if you have a legal representative. So you don't need to fill that section out if you're doing this form on your own. Skip straight to section 3, where you're going to fill out your contact information, as this is where you can be notified, essentially. Domicilio a efectos de notificaciones. Once you have this last section filled out, the last thing that you'll see is this little box down here. Don't check it unless you have a digital certificate already, or what they call the clave in Spain. Since you're a first-time applicant for the TA, it's very unlikely that you have a digital certificate. TLDR, do not check it off. Let's go to the next page. Here in this first section, you're going to write your name and you're going to check off the type of document. In this case, we're applying for the TA for the first time, so we're going to put Tarjeta Inicial. In this final section here, you're going to write Madrid or whichever location you are signing this document. Day, month, of whatever year you are signing. And then you're going to give your signature in this firma box. Sometimes they check to make sure it matches your passport. Just make sure you have a very consistent signature across all of your documentation that you're submitting. In this case, first name, last name has a very easy signature. So that is the TA form, okay? This is what it looks like, all filled out. You should have 3 pages in total. You'll have your first page with your information, your second page with your signature and the reason why you're getting the TA. And finally, you're getting the instructions. These print out along with the other 2 pages, but they just give you extra information about the form. So once you complete that information, your application form for the TA will be complete. I hope you found this video pretty informative. If you need any more help, feel free to ask me or check out the resources listed down below. In the next video, we'll be talking about Modelo 790, Código 12. Otherwise known as the tax for the TA.